Hey friends, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how I discovered I had celiac disease. So if this helps you, maybe you're having some of these symptoms and you had no idea. To be quite honest, for the longest time, I really didn't even know I had it as well. So I just wanted to share with everyone my story. So how I kind of discovered I had it really didn't hit me till I started having infertility issues. That's when I really discovered that something is wrong, because I have a family, we're a family of six siblings, and everybody is super fertile. So I was like, something's not right with me. But that's kind of the first step of when I discovered something was going on. But when I think really hard about situations I had, it really started probably when I was in college, I want to say. When I was in college, I've always had like stomach issues. My stomach always hurt after I ate. I had going to the bathroom issues. Either it was constipation or the other. So it was back and forth. I went to the doctor when I was in college and they said I was low in iron. So I was on iron supplements at that time. And if you know about celiac, that is one sign of celiac is having low iron. So that was definitely a red flag. But again, my doctors did not say anything, did not test for any autoimmune disease or test for any celiac at that time. I feel like it's becoming more mainstream now because it's more, I think more people are knowing about it and to ask about that. But, you know, when I was in college, it definitely wasn't a thing that they asked or they did then. They just said, you have low iron, go home, you're good. And that's kind of where it was at. And then when I was in my 20s, like 25, when I was starting to try to have children, I realized it was really hard. And then I had a few miscarriages and a very devastating time in my life. Didn't know why those were happening, and it was always at a certain time. And the first thing I would do is grab some bread, right? Because yum, bread will help with the nausea when I was feeling nauseous when being pregnant. But definitely not the first option to go for when you have celiac and have no idea, right? So unfortunately, those nutrients weren't going to the baby, and so therefore I had those miscarriages. But the more I educate myself and learn more about nutrition and understand why things are happening in our bodies, the bottom line is the nutrients that we're eating is not really nutritious anymore. Our foods are being sprayed by chemicals, and so it just becomes more difficult to get those nutrients in us. So, and then I realized, you know, when I was trying to have my children, there was one doctor that was quite amazing. He said, hey, go gluten-free for a year and see what happens. Sure enough, that was what happened, and that was what helped me through that process. And just like many people were like, oh gosh, I can't live without bread or gluten, and I'll sacrifice and just deal with it. And then you go through the process and have some bread and you're like, ooh, this is really good and this is great. But turns out it's not good for us, and have issues again. And then you just keep falling into this pattern. And I always hear from people like, oh, being celiac must be so hard and eating that food. And so that's why I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to create delicious foods that people are going to not even know that they're gluten-free. And that's where I started 3 Farm Girls. So definitely check that out on the link as well. But the bottom line is when I got to this point, I was in my 40s at this point, and hormones are changing. So food is affecting my hormones, and obviously being celiac and having an autoimmune disease, it just became this huge ripple effect. And so I said to myself, I was like, okay, so one day I literally could not get out of bed. It was super scary. My husband and the girls were on a camp trip, and I was home alone because we have animals, and I was taking care of the animals, and I literally couldn't put the animals away. I could not function. Very scary. Thought I was almost like having a heart attack. I just didn't know what was going on. My heart rate was super high. So then I called a friend and I said, hey, I'm really scared. I don't know what's going on with me. Maybe it's my iron again, because I thought about when I was in college, that was a problem. So I went ahead and called my friend. She helped me with the animals and did all that stuff. And then I was like, okay, I have to go get tested and see what's going on. And so my inflammation was very high on the marks from my test results, as well as my autoimmune disease was tested. And if I looked at everything, gluten was the only thing that could have caused any of my autoimmune situations. I never got the scope or anything like that. Obviously, it was a testament when I tried to have children and not have gluten for a year. So I knew that obviously gluten was the situation, and turns out I have celiac. So that is kind of my story, but I just wanted to share that because I feel like so many people don't realize, what can cause it. So I was more internal, and things. Even now, like if I have anything, like even cross-contamination, I will vomit. Like it's almost like a hangover. It's absolutely awful. It's not something that is totally worth even having gluten anymore. And honestly, I don't miss it anymore because I have finally created things that taste fantastic and people don't even know it's gluten-free. So I don't miss it. I really don't miss it anymore. But I think that for those of you that are struggling to make that change and saying, you know what, I know I do have a problem. And if you're inflamed and have arthritis or have any type of autoimmune disease, you really should be going gluten-free. If you have children that are having learning disabilities or any type of brain function problems or anything that's going on in those situations, should go gluten-free. And I definitely will also share why that is important because of the protein that's in gluten. But please, just try it for at least 3 months, go gluten-free, because honestly, gluten is like a glue and it will stay in you for quite a while. So just taking it out for, let's say, a couple of weeks is not enough to feel the difference that you need. So check out 3 Farm Girls if you are like, you know what, I am gluten-free, but I definitely want to at least still have enjoyment in my life and having like a pierogi here and there, or having gnocchis. So things like that you feel like you could still want to have something that's, gluten-free. Check out our website so we can help you in those areas of cravings. And also bread. We do have bread as well. Nice, hot, warm bread. That was the biggest thing I totally missed, is having like hot bread. And I definitely perfected that to the point that I don't miss it. And going somewhere and I see somebody else eating bread, I was like, it's all good. I'll just go home and have my own bread. But you know what? I hope that all of you can just take some time to help yourself and help to decrease the inflammation in your body. And you'll see a difference. And even if you're not gluten-free or have celiac or something in that manner, try it. My husband is not gluten-free in the sense of having any type of sensitivity. But the reality is everybody has a sensitivity. He's also noticed he had, his hands used to hurt. He's like, oh, I think I have arthritis or something's going on. And then as soon as our whole household is gluten-free, he's like, man, I've noticed such a difference in energy and so many other ways. So it definitely helps if you're feeling that fatigue as well, definitely try gluten-free. Just try it, and an elimination diet. But I wish you all the best, and that is my story, and I hope that it can at least help one person. Take care.